People's Radio United.
Of where police departments are now talking like, well, we're making all these positive changes, and they have social media and they have their officers goofing around on social media, and everything looks so friendly, and they talk about, they talk about how they're raising standards and this kind of stuff, and like you said on the last episode, kumbaya shit.
Yeah, that's what I call it, kumbaya shit. It's immediately what came to mind when you said that. Well, I do want to, before we go there, I want to mention one more thing, and that's it. You're talking about PR with the cops and all this sort of, and frankly, these kumbaya things are really part of that same PR. But, there's the media plays as well. The media, rely on the cops for news about racy and sexy things like crime and incidents that occur and stuff like that. So they're really largely dependent on the police for information that to fill up their newspapers and their TV news reports and all of this stuff. They need this stuff, and they sell this stuff. It's their medium it's their product, if you will, and they need the police to help them produce that product. So most of the media is quite loath to ever challenge the actual cops. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, it's as stark as this. The Minneapolis TV stations will never cover wrongdoing by the Minneapolis police, but they're happy to cover it in St. Paul. The St. Paul news station will never cover police misconduct in St. Paul, but they are more than happy to cover it in Minneapolis. It's really funny living in a city that's essentially a metropolitan area that's split into two with a river running down the middle, because you see the dynamic all the time, and it's clear as a bell. So the media plays an interesting role because, again, they don't want to do anything that's going to disrupt that relationship that they have with their people, with their source of news. They really don't. And the other thing is, they simply, even when the media is given stuff that's pretty close to a pile of and they know it is, and it's stinking, they will still cover it like it's fact. They don't say, the investigation is going to focus on this, or they don't say, this is the alleged this or anything like that. They cover this stuff like it's actual fact, and that's a big issue in terms of making sure that that there's some kind of balance in the news. These media just constantly go along with the program, and that's another reason why people who are victims of police brutality get screwed over, because the media has vilified them, and no jury in the world's going to take their side of things, and stuff like that. So, I wanted to kind of throw that out before we start talking about the cops' own media, which is their social media and all their little kumbaya crap, as we talked about before, So just
I'm glad you mentioned that too. I know that the police basically kind of dictate what the media says, or else the media doesn't get access to those racy, sexy things you were talking about. And it works out really well for the police, and it makes a unique challenge trying to work with those media organizations, because, the police have what they want and you don't have what they want. Activists don't really have what they want, which is, if it bleeds, it leads kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
Now,
I do that said, I do get asked to reflect on things in the media. Sometimes they'll show me a video and say, what do you think about this police officer's conduct, or this and that and the other thing? They do ask for that sometimes, but I'm very controlling, and, all of us in CUAPB, and I think anybody that's out there listening should think about this stuff. Usually I make them give me the questions in writing. I certainly want to see them if it's any kind of print journal, like a newspaper or anything like that. I want the questions in writing, because I'm not going to talk to you and have you twist my answers around. I will give them to you in writing, and you need to produce them exactly as I give them to you. And so that's one of my tricks that I do with. And if I do TV, I've just done a lot of this media, and so I've got a real way of knowing how to do it. If I do TV, one of the things that I do is I answer the question I wish they asked, not the question they did. So there's some tips and things for activists to learn how to address the media in a better way. Having a prepared statement, knowing the angle that you want to go in on with something. These are important things as well. So we have to be prepared, but also like, not being apologetic about our positions. You have a position and you advocate for that position, and that's it, and not, like sort of being apologetic or toned down or any of that sort of stuff. So I think, that's important to know. We have to have good skills ourselves to use the media, because believe me, these government agents, including the police, are very polished at this stuff. They pick people that are polished, to do this sort of thing. And we have to be at least as savvy as they are, and that kind of stuff. You, like I said, you were talking about some of these media shows. It's particularly like the Facebook, and police officers are doing Facebook stuff, and they're doing all these slickety doodah things. We have to be prepared to challenge those things. A lot of times, it was really funny. I think at one point the new NYPD, this was like, I think, one of the biggest media disasters, and so I'll just tell it because I think your listeners will enjoy hearing it. The NYPD was on this big media campaign. Now this is like, after they've been killing people right and left in the streets, although the stop and frisk and everything like that, and they decided they need a media comeback. So they decided they made a Facebook thing, some kind of thing where they asked people to come in and tell and go on their Facebook and make comments about how how do you appreciate the MPD or NYPD rather, some kind of goofball thing like that, and just hundreds of thousands of people ripped up their Facebook page with all kinds of truth telling, and it was just, It was hilarious. I mean, they had to shut the page down because people were just saying, you did this to my kid, you're disgusting, what you did to this other person. I mean, they were ripping on some of the more famous cases, but also the day-to-day stuff that people experience at the hands of NYPD. So it was really, it was the worst PR campaign they ever had, and whoever's idea it was, I'm pretty sure got fired because that was a really dumb idea,